Here we go. Welcome, everyone, to the Champions. Now, here's your host, former Dallas Cowboys great Preston Pearson, number 26, along with co-host Cowboys superfan Nathan Ross. Here we go.
And welcome, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Champions. It's so good to see you again today. If you weren't with us last week for our fourth edition of the Champions, boy, did you miss a goodie. We had former Dallas Cowboys cheerleader Pam Seal with us, and we were talking about their miraculous beginnings and her role with the cheerleaders, and it was a super outstanding broadcast and show. And if you missed it, shame on you. Let me bring in my co-host right now, who will also tell you about last week's show, and we'll talk a little bit about our show today, which is going to be another goodie. So tune us in. Nathan, how are you? Nathan Ross, my co-host, joining us right now.
Preston, I'm doing so great. Great to be here with you again. I'm just so honored to be your co-host. Last episode was so amazing. We talked to, legendary, iconic, former cheerleader Pam Seal, and I learned so much about America's sweethearts. I mean, you wouldn't even believe it. It was like going to school from 1961 all the way up to current. So Pam was amazing on the show. But really what stood out to me was her talking about that 1975 season.
Yes.
And that's the year she came in and the Dirty Dozen came in, or the Baker's Dozen with you included in it. And what was so amazing to hear from Pam was how important that game was that you were in against the Rams in that NFC Championship game, where that was really the explosion, if you'd say, to start to really show the world about us becoming America's team, that 1975 season. And you specifically, the way Pam talked about the way you scored those 3 touchdowns and the way you had those 123 yards receiving. So that 1975 season was so important. The Dirty Dozen, I mean, they were a big part of this, of why we got to where we were, and it was a shock to people. But what we saw from Pam last week, learning about the America's Sweethearts, learning about the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders through Pam, was unbelievable, Preston.
Very informative. Pam was right on the money with everything.
Yes, she was.
That she had to say. So let's continue talking about that magical year, 1975, and you mentioned it, the Dirty Dozen.
Yes, sir.
Our guest this week represents, I think in the best possible way, that group, the Dirty Dozen. Let's take a quick peek back at how they got their name, or at least from the movie from which they got their name.
Awesome.
What's the matter, number 11?
I got a pain.
Where does it hurt?
Well, I'll tell you, it's,
I wish you would. Do it correctly, please.
well, I don't have to say, sir. To you or anyone else, and I don't have to march either. And I know the rules.
Why don't you have to march?
Because condemned men don't have to drill.
Huh.
And there's nothing you can do about it, mister.
What's your name, son?
11.
His name is Franco, sir.
Franco, come over here. Look, you little bastard, either you march, or I'll beat your brains out. Understand? What'd you see, Sergeant?
I saw the major attacked by the prisoner, forced to defend himself, sir.
All right, have the prisoner taken back to his cell.
You take his head, I'll get his feet.
Now let's see what they can do with a little close order.
Yes, sir. What? And cut! Right, face! Forward, hard! What? Up! Up! Hey! Forward, hard! Cut!
Now that
What a
was
movie.
camp. And what a movie. Was
It was a
that-
great movie.
Was that a part of the reason why the Dallas Cowboys of 1975 got the name Dirty Dozen? Or was it something else?
Oh, well, I heard our guest talk about it, but I won't say it.
You won't say
I
it
know
right
it-
now. We're going to
No,
let
right now
our
I
guest
won't.
talk about it.
Absolutely, we will.
Were you a Cowboy fan way back then? Were you able to get to any of the Cowboy training camps back then?
Myself, yes, I did. Well, back in 1988 and 89, my dad did take me. It was Tom Landry's last year, and I got to sneak on to help out a cameraman. So I actually got to talk to actual Tom Landry in 1988, and get all Randy White was still there, Danny White, Jim Jeffcoat, everybody was still there. I got to see them, and then went back in 1989, and it did good to do that. Yes, and
Well,
it was just
Tom
amazing.
Landry, for the Cowboys was just like Lee Marvin in the movie The Dirty Dozen. He was a brigadier general type of guy. Now, I'm not so sure if you can compare a prisoner's training camp
Right.
to the Dallas Cowboys training camp, but I guarantee you this, they shaped up under a brigadier general just like Tom Landry. Okay, with that,
Yes.
let's go and take a look at, quickly put up a photo, if you would, Trey, of Tom Landry back in the training camp days, if we have that available. This is the real early days of
Wow,
training
look at
camp.
that.
That's Tom Landry standing right there on your right side.
Yes,
there.
sir.
And it may not remind you of those prisoners in the movie, but those were the guys that he was in control of. There's a great
Yes, sir.
look at Brigadier General, the man who makes everything go. He's not stomping on anybody's head or anything like that, but he's under the direction of people like Mike Ditka and who else was on that staff back there? Ernie Stautner. All of those guys were like the sergeant in the movie. And, of course, the whole Dirty Dozen group was brought into Dallas by those three guys you see right there. Tom
Wow,
Landry in the
legends,
middle,
absolute
Graham
legends.
on the left, and Gil
Yes,
Brandt
sir.
on the right. A great draft headed up by those three gentlemen right there. This is a different story.
Wow.
We won't get to that one at this point.
Wow,
in
I've
time.
never seen that picture before anywhere.
That's-
Wow, that's
that's-
cool.
That's a design that I formulated and put on 7-Eleven
Whoa.
cups here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and a couple of other states.
You
around
did
the
that,
country.
Preston? You
I did
designed that?
I did that.
Wow.
I also
Very
have
impressive.
right here a cup that I designed based on that photo that you just saw for 7-Eleven that came out for Tom
that is
Landry.
beautiful.
Yes.
What a cup.
I had that
Wow, that's very
drawn up
nice,
and
Preston.
put together and was sold through 7-Eleven stores. So Pat,
Wow,
I'll
I
send
would
it
have
back
bought,
to you again.
I wish I would have had one of those. I mean, I would have got, that's a great cup.
I'll save that for you then.
Thank you, bud.
All right, let's get to our special guest today.
Oh,
He has been
Yes.
described in all kinds of manners over the years. I know when I came here in 1975, Tom Landry had me display some of my athletic skills by running a race against their then fastest player on the team, which
Yep, I
happened to
heard.
be
Jeez.
I was going to say Hollywood, but I'm not going to say Hollywood because today he doesn't particularly like that term placed on
Correct.
his name or near his name.
Yes.
So I'm just going to say Thomas Henderson. How's that?
Right.
I have
That's
a lot
right.
of respect for Thomas. I've told him this many, many, many times. He could have been in the Hall of Fame. He could have been dubbed the best linebacker since, or even before Lawrence Taylor. We have a
Oh,
shot at that
absolutely.
with those two together.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
But things happen in life, and he's one of
It's
those
true.
guys who went through a lot of negative things, bad things, things that made him do some unspeakable things. But you know what? Life is life, and if you can recover and do
That's right.
and be in the place that he is in today, I'll pat you on the back. I'll shake your hand. I have the utmost respect for you.
He
Let
helped
us-
so many people.
He has. He has.
Yes, he does.
He's turned his life around. Anyway,
Sure
we
has.
don't want to get too much into all of that.
You got it.
Well, let me go ahead and bring in, if we could, Trey, bring in our very special guest, who is now in Florida, right, Thomas? Thomas
Legendary.
Henderson joining us right now. Thomas, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Oh, doing great, Thomas. Wow. Good to see you.
So 1975, you're a rookie. In fact, you're 1A of the Cowboys' first-round draft choice. My first question, and we'll get to all of those guys on that thing, were you surprised or shocked at being drafted number one? Or, knowing Thomas Henderson, did you think you should have been the first of the first-round draft choices?
You know, I was at a small college in Oklahoma. I had no idea about the draft. I hadn't followed it. I didn't know what the draft was. But, you know, there were some rumors that I may be going to the NFL. In Dallas, I didn't see it on television. I was in a farmhouse in Langston, Oklahoma, when the phone rang. And it was Gilbrandt. And he said, "Can you get a ride to the airport?" And I still didn't understand all of this, but I caught a ride to the airport. I think I was in Dallas like 4 hours after I was drafted. Yeah, it was a big surprise coming out of Langston with Oklahoma and Oklahoma State and the state of Oklahoma to be the first player drafted.
You started out in Austin, Texas, though, originally.
I was born and raised in Austin, Texas.
Right.
I went to Oklahoma City in 1969. I finished high school in 71, but I didn't quite graduate because I had flunked geometry in Austin my sophomore year. But the thing was, math was my best subject, and that kept me out of Vietnam. I got drafted in 1971 by the U.S. Army, but because I had flunked geometry, I had to go to summer school to finish high school, and I went from 1A to 1S. Unbelievable.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
That is.
All
That
right, well,
really is, Thomas.
Let's talk about the dirty dozen draft choices that made the roster. Of course, now, people should know that back then there was like 18 rounds. So the Cowboys actually drafted 18 players. Only the dirty dozen, which is 12, made the Cowboy roster. Okay, let's start with all of those guys, if you will, Trey, and run it down. Started with Randy White, who was drafted 1 by the Cowboys. And, of course, Randy was from Maryland. became a 9-time Pro Bowler and All-Pro first-team selection, Super Bowl
The Manster.
champion, and co-MVP with Harvey Martin.
Wow.
Name adapted was the Manster, and of course he
You
went
bet.
on to become a Hall of Famer. By the way, he was one of only 3 in that draft to become a Hall of Famer. How about that?
Wow. I
Second
did not know
round, Burton Lawless, offensive guard from Florida, played 6 seasons in the NFL.
Yep.
Was named the league's all-rookie team in 1975. Of course, he was a Super Bowl champion. Bob Bruni. People forget about Bob Bruni. Bob Bruni played 9 years with the Cowboys, a 3-time Pro Bowl selection and Super Bowl champion. Round 4, Pat Donovan, offensive tackle. And get this, being from Stanford,
Good player.
an excellent player, offensive tackle. I haven't heard from
Yep.
or anything about Pat Donovan since the day he retired and left Dallas. But he played 9 seasons with Dallas and was a 4-time Pro Bowler and never missed a game. Unheard of, right?
Wow.
Unheard of.
That is.
Randy Hughes, defensive back from Oklahoma.
Good safety.
Kyle Davis, center, also from Oklahoma. And then you had Raleigh Woosley, who we've talked about a little bit. Raleigh played a couple of years on special teams and was traded by Seattle in the expansion draft. Second round, Mike Hegman.
Good player.
That's a good look at. Here's
Wow.
Mike.
Mike
Hegman,
was
turned out to be
good
an
player.
excellent player.
Yes,
There's
sir.
some controversy surrounding Mike in
What?
the time that he was drafted. He didn't really come to the Cowboys until '76, but he was drafted and was drafted as a part of the Dirty Dozen. In the
Wow. I
8th
did not know
round,
that. Wow.
Mitch Hoops. Mitch Hoops was the Cowboys kicker. He only played 1 season with Dallas, then was traded when quarterback punter Danny White arrived. Then he played on 5 different teams in 3 seasons. Okay, what was that? The 8th round draft choice right there. Then we get to who was next in that group. 13th round was Herb Scott.
Yes.
Tech. I was amazed that Herb Scott, being the kind of player that he was, so mild a guy, very religious guy, played 10 years for the Cowboys, 3-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion. And then
Great player.
Finally, at the end was Scott Laylaw. Scott Laylaw was in the backfield room with me and Robert Newhouse and Dorsett. Very good running back. Played fullback most of his time here in Dallas behind Robert Newhouse. So that kind of shows you a little bit of the guys that were drafted in that Dirty Dozen 1975 draft by the Dallas Cowboys. What an excellent draft. It is considered to be one of the overall best drafts ever. Not necessarily the best, but one of the best drafts ever. Thomas?
I can see why.
Your thoughts on that?
Well, I wonder, do you know the reason the Dirty Dozen got that nickname?
Well, I'm sure you're going to tell us.
Well, yeah, we refused to shave. And so we all had hair on our face. And so they called us the Dirty Dozen. So I don't know whether it was, Landry never said shave. Nobody said shave, but when you came to Thousand Oaks and you
Which is
were a
training
rookie,
campsite, yeah.
you were supposed to shave all your hair. And so we didn't, so we had hair hanging everywhere. I had a full beard. I wasn't going to shave. That wasn't part of my contract. That was harassment.
Yep. Thomas, did you go to a doctor? I saw in an interview with you that you went to a doctor and tried to just say you had a skin irritation and you didn't have to cut off the beard.
Yeah, some disease called pseudofull follicles. Whatever
sure you
it
didn't make
was,
that
I went
up?
to a doctor, and so everybody grew wild beard. I think I was the one who actually went to the doctor and got the excuse.
Yes.
Did not have to
So-
shave.
Preston, did you
So
have a
everybody
beard?
grew.
Because you were part of the baker's dozen. So did you have a full beard? What was your situation like? Did you have a little
No, I
I
something?
did not. I could just barely grow hair on my face now.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So, no, I
You
did not.
came. You didn't come to training camp that year. You came to Forest Lane.
Yes. Training camp was over,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
I came. It was maybe 3 or 4 days before the first game was supposed to be played. The regular season
Yeah.
game was to be played, and Pittsburgh forever will be in my mind a team that I have a problem with, just for that reason.
Yeah.
That they let me go.
Yeah, they let a bad dude go.
Thank you.
Well, and Preston, you were, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Rocky Blyer and you, obviously we would take you. I'm sure you being a part of that union in 1974 was the only reason that we luckily, I mean, honestly, that the Cowboys were able to get you. Because I don't think if you're in that union, there's no way. And I have so much respect for Rocky Blyer. I do. I mean, he
I
fought
do
for our
too. I
country.
do too.
So much respect.
Yeah.
But if you're telling me, and this is being honest, if I could have you or have Rocky Blyer, I'm taking you all day long. So we're lucky to even have you, to be honest with you.
What do you think about that, Thomas?
Oh, you were a bad dude. You know what I mean? You know, you were fast, quick, elusive. You know, I had to cover you in practice a lot, which made my game better.
Yeah.
Right.
Nobody beat, you know, you never saw a running back beat me
Right.
on a pass route.
Yeah.
Nobody ever looks at that, but with Preston first and with Doug Dennison and then Dorsett, I had to cover these guys, and you know, I had plenty of practice, but Preston was the most elusive of the guys.
Wow.
Because he had that basketball background.
Yes.
Yeah.
And speaking of basketball, you know, a part of that Dirty Dozen roster was 2 undrafted free agents that were involved. One of them was the reason I was here in Dallas, and that was Jim Zorn, the quarterback.
Wow. Wow.
He was on the Cowboys roster, and in order for me to come here, the Cowboys had to cut. Let me say that again. Jim Zorn, who turned out to be a pretty darn good quarterback in Seattle, and went on to do some coaching, I believe, with the Redskins.
Yep.
The other one was a guy by the name of Percy Howard. And there you get a shot at Percy Howard was a basketball player. Percy Howard never played football in high school or below. This was a guy who played basketball only. The Cowboys, under Gil Brandt, Tex Ram, and Tom Landry, went ahead and drafted him. And here's a statistic most people will never believe or understand. Percy Howard, in his one season in the NFL, caught one pass in the Super Bowl for a touchdown, and it was against one of the greatest cornerbacks the game has ever seen.
Yeah, that's
Mel
true.
Blount from Pittsburgh
Yeah,
Steelers.
what a monster. Absolutely monster.
Trivia question, folks. One catch in the Super Bowl for his entire career, Percy Howard.
I wish he would have caught that
Last one. Yeah.
that Hail Mary.
Yes. Yes. that
The
would've
last
won the
one
game
Roger
for us.
threw him.
Yeah.
That could have won us that game.
Yeah. Very much could have, because in that game, Golden Richards had gotten hurt. Mel Blunt beat him up. Officials should have
Jeez.
called a few penalties on him, but it never got happened. And Golden got hurt, and Percy had to go into that game.
And that was a good trade too. I mean, to be honest, Jim Zorn, great quarterback over the years, but to get you to a running back that we needed back then, and getting Danny White, I mean, to be honest with you, if you could tell me Danny White or Jim Zorn, I mean, I might even lead toward Danny White in that anyway. So I think we got the better of that. Even though Jim Zorn throwing to Steve Largent, great quarterback, great player, but to get you in that, they really needed you for that with the running game, is what Drew Pearson said when we talked, and we all talked. So I think we really came out on top on that, getting you and letting Jim Zorn go.
Well, Danny White was a twofer. He was a quarterback, very
Exactly.
good one, and
So
a punter.
true.
So
true.
that was a good scenario for him. Certainly was.
And he was a good quarterback. I mean, I know Roger Staubach, I mean, that's my hero, football hero, but Danny White was a very, very good quarterback.
All right, so we're now drafted. We're now with the Dirty Dozen. Who out of that group would you say, other than you and Randy White, would you say, Thomas, turned out to be the best overall player? Good question, right? Yeah, got to think about that one.
This is going to surprise you. Scott Laylaw.
Oh, yeah, that is a surprise, but understandable. But understandable.
Yeah, he had some nice games.
I mean, he brought it. When he blocked me, I felt it. But Laidlaw was a beast to me.
Okay.
So yeah, I know that surprises you, but he, as a
It
fullback,
does surprise me too.
I had to take him on a few times, and it wasn't fun.
Scotty was a good player. It was a good running back room at
Solid.
that time. Very, very solid, with Robert Newhouse, in my opinion, leading the way. And of course, Dorsett came, a year later or 2 years later.
2 years.
But it was an excellent running back room at that time.
And Thomas, you and Randy White were kind of going for the same position. Is that correct? And you beat him out because the way you could cover tight ends and running backs.
Yeah, I'm the reason Randy White is in the Hall of Fame. I put him on.
You moved him.
I put him on all fours.
Wow.
I put him on all.
Yes,
fours.
you did. Yes, you did.
I tell you what,
But
though,
what a player.
Randy was faster than people realize.
Right.
I remember one day that we were running those 110s.
Yeah.
Where you walk back and you run 110 and you walk. And so Randy pulled up beside me one day and started tracking, you know what I mean? And I took off, and shit, I didn't leave him, you know what I mean? He was right there. So Randy was
they drafted him to play
surprisingly
linebacker,
fast.
and then they found that he just didn't have the linebacker kind of instincts. He had that
Cover
down
skills.
lineman instincts, and then they put him into defensive tackle, which is obviously we know.
The one interesting thing about me playing the strong side linebacker, D.D. Lewis was a good player, didn't make mistakes. And so I wanted D.D. Lewis's job. I didn't want to wrestle with Billy Joe Dupree and all these tight ends.
Yeah.
But Landry was smart enough because he knew if he put me on that weak side, it's gonna be the Thomas Henderson show. And whether it was a blitz call or not, if I saw something, I was going. So he put my ass over a tight end and made me really think about the game and the game plan and the flex, which is a really, really good defense.
Yeah.
And I had to come up, every week there was a guy 6'4", 6'5", coming and lining up on me, Russ Francis.
Yeah.
I'm going,
Yes.
geez, damn you.
Big guys, big tight end.
But you know what?
That is.
I brought it. I brought
you
it.
did.
You sure did. You
All
sure
right.
did, Thomas.
Well, let's take a quick look back at Thomas Henderson in the beginning. We're going to go all the way back to elementary school, high school.
Awesome.
Just a quick look at what you looked like. You remember
Very
that guy?
cool. Very cool,
man.
Thomas.
Yeah, that's elementary school, Thomas Henderson.
That's first grade.
Is it?
Fantastic.
Yes.
That's a great
LL
pick.
Count.
You weren't really thinking sports and athletics at that time, were you?
I grew up very poor. My mom had me when she was 15 years old. And she met a guy that was 22 years older than her. And they had 4 kids. And we were just poor. I was able to learn enough about sports and running. And at 15, I left home. Went to Oklahoma City to live with my grandmother, which wasn't really my grandmother, but she had raised my mother. And I ended up in Oklahoma City in 1969.
Okay, let's go to that
And,
picture. Show that.
yeah.
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah, I think
Wow.
that was junior high.
Wow.
I think
Wow.
my head grew into them ears.
Oh, stop it.
There was growth. All right, on to Langston University.
I tell you what, I
Those
have one regret is that when I got to training camp that year, this guy next to me, his name is Von Holmes. He was the hardest hitting man I've ever played with. And I should have told Tom Landry about him. And I didn't, because when I came to training camp and saw the linebackers and the tackles and I knew Von could make our team, but I didn't know that I had that capability. So, but that guy right there is the best football player I've ever played with.
Well,
I heard you
also-
say that before too.
Yeah.
You've said that. Were you defensive end at this time, Thomas? You were a defensive
Yes.
end?
And
Gotcha.
yes, I started my freshman year, and me and that guy used to meet at the quarterback, and he's hit me sometimes.
Getting to the quarterback.
Yeah, but that's the guy right there, man.
So was he drafted?
Preston, the reason the Cowboys drafted me is in my 4 years at Langston, I had 120 quarterback sacks.
120. Preston,
4 years.
120 sacks. 120 sacks.
In 4 years.
That's 30 a year. I
That
average
is
over 30 a year.
crazy. Oh
I mean, how do you get drafted out of Langston, Oklahoma, the #1 pick for the Cowboys?
Yeah.
You don't
Right.
you don't get that. You don't get that.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
much did you weigh at that time, Thomas? Because you had a lot of speed.
About
Gosh.
210.
210. Okay.
Yeah.
Were you running a 4.4 right then? 4.5, 4.4, something like that, Thomas?
Yes.
Do you think?
Yes.
Wow, gosh darn.
And I ran
Jeez.
a 9.5 100-yard dash.
And this is part of your track career.
A
right?
9.5.
Matter of fact,
Gosh.
the day, wait a minute, this is funny. The day I ran the 9.5 at the Kansas relays, I came in 8th. I came in 8th place with a 9.5. The winning time was 9.2.
What'd you do in track other than what we're
That's
looking at
crazy.
right now?
That's 9.2. Wow.
I triple jumped and long jumped. My triple jump was near 50 feet. My long jump was 22 and some change.
Athlete, right?
Wow, Preston.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Let's look back at
That's my sophomore year at Henderson High School in Austin, Texas.
Okay.
Wow.
Number 42.
I was going to ask that. 4.2. Nice. How did you get? Oh, how did you become and like number 56? What did you just get handed that, Thomas, or is that a number that you?
I
That was
think
special to you?
I think Buck Buchanan gave it to me, and I looked at it and I said, "Yeah, I like that." So
Buchanan,
Boy, you made it
Cowboys.
famous.
That's the Cowboys
Yeah.
equipment guy, right?
Yeah.
yeah, his son I think still works for the Cowboys.
Yes, he does. Bucky.
Yep.
Yeah,
He's still out there with the Cowboys.
he was a kid in the locker room.
Yes, he
when I
was running around there
when I was there.
doing the same things his dad was doing. All right, let's take a quick look at some of the Dallas Cowboy highlights of Thomas Henderson. And think about this too, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about a linebacker that is running kickoffs back, unheard of.
Maybe one of the
why I
best
say-
linebackers.
That's why I say you have to have the utmost respect for Thomas Henderson and the things that he did as an athlete, as a Dallas Cowboy. There aren't too many linebackers going to be returning kicks, and this
No
man
way.
did a lot of this.
Jeez.
Look at this.
That guy had the angle on him too. Nice block. Wow, look at that.
Not many people can do
Look at
this
that
kind
head
of stuff
bobbing.
as a linebacker.
Look at that head bobbing.
Wow.
That's pretty good stuff.
That was
Mr.
nice.
Thomas. You got to admit that, and that's
You
that's
dunked the
what
ball on
you
that one
want.
too.
Yeah, you
I did.
got another.
He did
one
that.
we're going to show if we can that you had against Tampa. That one was 97
Yep.
yards, I believe. This one,
This is against the Rams.
Yep.
No, 28-0. I had to finger roll it. I was tired.
He's a-
you're going to try to dunk that one again. Somebody said that. You
what a
were the
big
guy
play, though. Gosh, what a
started
big
that.
play, Thomas.
who started dunking the ball over the end zone. Is that true?
Say that question again.
Are you the player or former player that started the idea of dunking the ball after they scored over the end zone bar?
I think I was. Then they made it against the rules.
Illegal.
Yeah.
Oh, they did?
You know, I like. Yeah, it's not. No, you can't do it anymore.
Well, you were not only fast, we saw a little bit of that, but you could hit too. I mean, like you said, you could bring it.
Oh,
And so we want to take a look at you.
I
against
love this
one of the
video.
best running
Oh,
backs in the
amazing.
National Football League, and I too have a lot of respect for this gentleman
Oh.
because I know the punishment
legendary guy.
that he took during the time that he played, and Thomas laid some licks on a lot of people during his time, but this is one of the best ones. That is the great Earl Campbell.
Boom.
And not many people can knock Earl back. Now, he may have lost his helmet, but Thomas got him right there.
Did you feel that, Thomas? I mean, what did you feel right here when you were about for contact? Did you feel this impact? Or did you just so
Well,
much
let me,
adrenaline you couldn't even feel it?
no, no, let me tell you. So my uncle called me the night before the game and told me to be careful. That boy Earl Campbell, might hurt you, And so
He's right.
when I saw Earl with the ball, I said, "This is for my uncle." Right there, bam!
Boy, you put the lick right
Stuck
there, Thomas. You put the lick.
Now, right
You
there,
sure
you look
did.
like you got some size, Thomas. You look like you're about
Yeah, I think,
225,
but Preston,
230.
I never weighed 220.
Really? Wow.
Never.
That's some good hitting
Never.
on a big man
That was-
right there. So.
That sure was. Thomas, was that besides Earl? Is there a running back that really gave you? Because one time I asked you about John Riggins, and you actually wrote me back and said he was a tough guy. Is Earl Campbell? Is he the toughest running back you ever went against, or is there somebody even more that tough that you thought of?
I told you, Scott Laidlaw give you all
Okay.
you could take.
Interesting. Yes, you did.
But no, nobody. I'm not bragging here, but
No.
with Walter Payton and
Yeah.
Chuck Foreman and
How about
Franco
O.J. Simpson?
Harris and
O.J. Simpson.
they were all patty cake to me because Preston knows this. I brought it.
Yes,
Yes, you.
there's no doubt.
I brought it.
I mentioned O.J. Simpson. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have, but because he's been in the news here. But what about him? Any comments about him and tackling him?
Easy.
Easy.
The only guy that scared me.
This
in
is the
my
question.
whole
Yes.
career was number 22 for the St. Louis Cardinals.
22.
Metcalf.
Oh, that's 21.
Metcalf, really?
Or was he 21?
Terry.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, 21. Terry Metcalf. Eric is his son.
The only man that scared me. And of course, Dorsett. I wouldn't want to be the linebacker trying to catch him in full stride. I used to beat him up in practice,
Yeah,
but I didn't want to be on TV when,
yeah, that's right.
That was my
Yeah, but-
brother's favorite running back was Terry Metcalf. He wore
Yeah.
21 in high school because of Terry Metcalf. He's 14 years older than me, my brother, so I followed him around everywhere. But he loved
Yeah.
Terry Metcalf.
He was a good player too.
Yeah.
All right, so
Yes.
we kind of get through the Cowboy time frame. Your play, the Dirty Dozen, then you get in some trouble. The troubles begin for you. We don't need to get into highlighting all of that, but you did go to jail. I have to ask you this: how was that? That had to be an unsightful thing. I think you spent 28 months there, and one of the highlights that I read about, this may or may not be true, but it supposedly said you spent some time in church next to Charles Tex Watson. That's
Yes.
the guy that was involved in the Manson murder.
Manson. Yes.
There's a look at him right there. That's Tex.
Yeah,
Watson in jail.
my addiction to cocaine, namely, Richard Pryor turned me on to an alcohol called 151 rum, so I could light my crack pipe with it, and I drank it, and it brought me down from Mars. But in 81, 82, 83, I don't have much memory of those years because of blackouts. So when you get arrested in a crack house, my house was a crack house. When you get arrested in a crack house, all bets are off. So I have no memory of that. That doesn't sound like me,
Yeah.
but I'm in a blackout. But the good news is I've been sober 40 years.
Yes.
I haven't had a drink
Yes.
or a drug for 40 years.
Awesome.
And I didn't, matter of fact, Preston, you never saw me drunk. I didn't drink. I sip on a Tom Collins all night at the discotheque. But my friend Richard Pryor turned me on to 151 rum. I could light my pipe and it would bring me down. So the blackout, I don't know if any of you guys have had a blackout, but I went into them pretty often, trying to come down from crack.
Ooh, that sounds scary to me, my friend.
Yeah, I don't
But
have
boy,
any
you turned it
memories.
around, Thomas. You've turned it around. I mean, you've helped so many people. I have heard from people like watching shows, and what you went through, and as terrible as it is, you have turned it around, and you have become so good for people. And I'm just so proud of you for that. But you've turned it around so well, and you've helped so many people.
Lots of folks
Well,
feel the same way, Thomas, about that. By
Yes,
the way.
sir.
yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah.
So, talk to us about some of the people that helped you turn it around or helped you during those tough times, either during the season, after the season, jail, whatever. Are there special people?
You know, I have a funny. I mean, this is when I went to the Miami Dolphins and Don Shula signed me, I had just got out of rehab in Arizona because I was on the team with OJ with the 49ers, and I think OJ snitched on me. I came to work loaded, crack, smoking, and I was trying to hide in my locker, and Bill Walsh stood over me and looked at me, and he didn't like what he saw, and I was out of there. I go to Houston in 1980. I play out the season in Houston. I'm smoking crack. I'm drinking 151. I don't know where I live. Matter of fact, for $1 billion, I can't take you to the house I lived in Houston. For $1 billion, I can't take you to the condo that I had in Miami. And I live in Florida now. The blackouts,
Took that memory away from you.
I mean, so I'm grateful today that I haven't had a drink or a drug for 40 years, and I shouldn't.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that's right.
And I
Wonderful.
shouldn't. So,
A couple of people
So
mentioned
so happy for
people
you, Thomas.
that they said, and I saw one of them being involved with you, that helped you get through some trying times, not necessarily the drug issues, but some trying times for you. One of them was your former roommate, Ed Jones, Ed Too Tall Jones,
yes.
and the other would be Roger Staubach. Talk to us
Yeah.
a little bit about both.
You know, Ed is my friend, and we were roommates for a couple of years, and he's just solid. I mean, he's just solid. Roger Staubach sent me money, and when I was in jail, he sent me cartons of cigarettes so I'd have something to sell. And him and Marianne and the Staubach family have just been just generous and kind to me forever. And I'm grateful for that.
So that's
Wonderful.
two people at the top of that list. So,
Two wonderful
Yes.
players and wonderful people.
all right,
Yes.
so one last area, if we could. You won the lottery. You won the lottery twice.
Unbelievable. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, you gotta spend a lot of money with that stuff. So I mean,
It wasn't a
you know,
one-time thing. There you are. Look at that.
yeah. Um, so there's a little tragedy in there that the guy that I put my money with at a institution stole quite a bit from me and then committed suicide. But when you got 10 million and somebody takes a little bit of it,
Yeah.
I'm still a millionaire. I live good. I live simply. Uh, my grandson is a wide receiver at
Oh,
Marshall University,
oh, I
number
saw the picture of
7.
him.
His
Wow.
name is Carl Chester.
Oh, how
He's
about
my
that?
daughter's son. He's 6'4", 210, Preston, and he can
As a
run.
wide receiver, Preston, I saw a
6'4",
picture of him.
210.
He is a
E-
rock.
Everything's bigger, stronger, faster in today's football world.
Wow.
Got to ask you this. What do you think about the Cowboys of today, Thomas?
Well, I thought it was pretty cute that Micah Parsons, he reminds me of me and Langston, that aggressive play off the edge. And I said something to him at a boxing match. I said, 5 + 6 is 11.
Whoa. Whoa. That's a neat. Wow. I didn't put that together.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's wearing my number. He just don't know it. So,
Well, what do you think about him? Hey, listen, I remember you and Harvey and Ed and all the guys on defense. When it came to pressure time, playoff time, that's when you guys were at your best. I don't care about anything that happened before or any of all that. During the game, that's when you guys were at your best. I don't believe we've seen Micah Parsons at his best at the most critical times. That's not a knock on Micah Parsons. It's not at all. That's just a observation on what the Cowboy players, in my opinion, have to do. You have to go from one level to the next higher level as deeper you go into the playoffs until you get to the Super Bowl, and that's where everything has to explode.
Yeah.
Am I
I think
wrong?
Mike Zimmer, though, I think Mike Zimmer is going to help in this regard, where I think Dan Quinn was a lot more finesse type of a guy, where I think now with Mike Zimmer's a more of a get up there, smash mouth, let's stop the run. And I think that might be a good difference for Micah this year. I think the mindset of our defensive coordinator going in to stop the run and to be a little bit more physical instead of finesse, I think that's going to help.
All right, we've got about.
uh,
Go ahead, Thomas.
Yes.
on Micah Parsons, um, I don't think they use him right. He's fighting with men twice his size. I like to see them use him more in space and let him use that speed and because
Boy, he's
if
fast.
he's just buried in a tackle or guard, I don't know. I like to see him in space.
That's a good point.
Was,
Thomas, that's a good point.
won't they just have to label him and put him in the linebacker spot, not defensive end spot?
Well, it's like, think about how brilliant Tom Landry was. He let Dede play the weak side. I was born to be over there. But for him to teach me his game, the flex, that he said, I'm going to entertain you because you're crazy. So I had to play over a tight end my whole career as opposed to me being on the edge. And I was going to gamble. Tom knew I was gonna go, even if it wasn't a play call. So
Okay.
Boy, that
Last question quickly for you. You mentioned Tom Landry several times throughout this conversation. Tom Landry is the man who fired you for whatever reason. And part of those reasons
oh, here we
were
go.
said to have
Oh
been
no.
because because you wore
Oh no.
this product that I designed in one of those
Oh
games.
no.
Right?
Is that true,
Yes.
Thomas? Oh my goodness.
yeah,
That's
you
awesome
know,
though. Look at
Preston, I got fired messing with you.
Okay.
You know what? I made him fire me. I mean, I cussed him out.
Oh.
I told him what I thought
that.
of
I
him.
did not know that.
So it was not a, hey, coach, I'm sorry. It was a very arrogant moment for me. And I regret it
Yeah.
because I had more juice
Yeah.
to set loose.
Yes. Yes. Well,
Yes, you did. Yes, you
good
did.
to hear that you said that. I think a
Yeah.
lot of fans out there listening and watching this are very happy to see and hear you say that in reference to your relationship with Tom Landry. And like I
Yeah,
said,
he had to fire me.
Yeah.
I cussed him out so bad in there. His secretary came in to see what was going on. But I was thinking about. I lost my memory there. I was thinking about something.
you do the same thing I do.
Me
Yeah,
too.
playing for the.
I do it all the time. Thomas, all
Yeah.
the time I do it. Ask my wife.
Yeah.
It's like,
So playing for. Here's what I want to say. I'm probably the only person on planet Earth who played for Tom Landry, Bill Walsh, Bum Phillips, and Don Shula.
no, that's a resume. That's a resume. Preston has a good one with Don Shula, Chuck Noll, and Tom Landry. But the ones you said too, Bill Walsh.
Pretty good.
I mean, add that to the list.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I'm
wow.
going to put you on that all-time list of having played
Okay.
with some of the greatest coaches in the game. I know I've got 3 of the top 10. I know that.
Oh, no
that
question.
I played with.
And Bum Phillips, what a great
Oh,
coach
yeah,
he was.
yeah.
I mean,
Good one.
polarizing, the hat, just an amazing coach.
All right. Last
Hey,
words.
so I want to tell you one thing.
Yes. Sir.
So you know the guy that hit me the hardest in my entire career, and I think he was a goat. And Preston, you're not going to believe this. Blaine Nye.
Offensive guard for the Dallas
Oh, number
Cowboys.
61.
Hurt me.
Oh,
He
absolutely.
hurt me when he hit me in training camp, my rookie year. I mean, he was a load.
Wow. He was a good lineman, too. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't.
One
I
of the
never would have
best.
thought that. I never would have thought that would be the one. Wow.
Wow, what a session. Thomas,
Peace out.
Unbelievable.
appreciate you. Thank you
Oh,
so
Thomas,
kindly.
unbelievable.
It's been
Oh.
tremendous.
So I celebrated 40 years sober November 8th.
Yes.
This past November 8th.
Keep doing it.
So life
Congrats.
is good. Love talking football.
We will
See ya.
have
Well,
you
I
back.
hope he
Hey,
comes
hey,
back.
hey,
Please do come back.
yeah.
Let's talk
Hey,
football.
Hey, listen, I'm thinking about putting together a group of former guys that would meet every other so often on the podcast and talk about the Cowboys. I've got you at the top of my list. I'd like to get Tutall
Should be.
involved, maybe Everson Walls involved, Cliff Harris, a few other guys, and let's just get around the table and talk.
Charlie
football.
Waters.
Yes, Charlie.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
We will get back to you, my friend. I appreciate you. I appreciate you very much. Thank you for
You're
joining
welcome.
I
us
appreciate
today
you too,
on
Thomas.
Champions. Now, I need to remind all of our fans and viewers and listeners that we are produced by Real News Public Relations. Our producer over here, Trey Giles, doing a super job.
Great job, Trey.
Thank you so
Great
kindly
job,
for
Trey.
being involved. Social media platforms include Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, which is Twitter, and only on audio would be TikTok, Amazon, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. Our guest next week, this is unbelievable that we're able to garner this gentleman and get him in. It's Woody, Hall of Fame, Ring of Honor, strong safety, number 28, Darren Woodson. And the following week, should I tell him, Nathan, or not?
Yes.
The following week, we have the Dallas Cowboys, longtime honorable gentleman, the voice of the Cowboys.
The voice.
Brad
Yes.
Jam.
Unbelievable.
Can't miss either one of those sessions. So
no,
join
you
us
cannot.
next week, starting with Darren Woodson. So long, everybody. And for us here, Nathan, here we
go.